Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I am having my coffee and enjoying it right now. My son left his. I was getting into it, not getting into it, but my son. These 14-year-olds, they forget everything. They don't pay attention to much. I'm finding out. The teeny boppers, their head is totally in the clouds, and they don't have time to listen to all these adults that just don't know anything. And so this morning, my son I found out that he had left a sweatshirt at the baseball facility, and I was explaining to him that he was going to have to go about calling the facility to get his sweatshirt back because I was not going to do it for him. And his answer was that he didn't know the phone number. And I told him, well, you just find it. So this is the kind of stuff I'm trying to teach these kids how to fend for themselves and how to survive when I'm not around. But anyway, okay. Excuse me. Now there's a van that has just pulled up at my house, and I'm hoping that they're not coming to knock on my door to interrupt my video, but it's possible. Okay, this is the first thing I saw this morning when I was looking around, and this guy had put this tweet out. This Charles Lee guy had put this out. Ripple, you guys better get a move on. There are now new players like Perlin Network, which I haven't heard of, that beats XRP Ledger's tech specs by far. He's showing this, showing Ripple at 1,500 transactions per second. And then he shows this for this company, Perlin, 31,000. And so now I want to make one point with this. The first thing I replied and I believe corrected him in what Ripple and what XRP can do. But I think he makes a valid point. And that is that there are competitors that are already in and coming. And there will be competitors. If you don't have I learned in sales when I was in sales for different companies that having competitors is not a bad thing. It just means that you have to explain why your product's better. But if there's not competitors, then you're not in a very lucrative industry. That's just the way life works. But to correct him, I did want to show this, which I've shown you on this channel before. So he's saying this company has 31,000 transactions per second. So here, let's see what Miguel Baez said.
Just for that particular use case.
Well, it's designed. It's very much a payments focused ledger. So, for instance, we have this feature on Ledger called payment channels, which allows you to do, I think, upwards of 50,000 transactions per second, just like Lightning, except that we're live, right? So, we have these things that are already scalable in order to run really high volume through the ledger. So, yeah, it's designed for it. The reason.
So there you go. Okay, now moving along. XRP Crypto Wolf, Canada's central bank, lays groundwork for digital currency. They're developing a prototype digital currency. The Bank of Canada plans to do more work with central banks of the UK, Sweden, Switzerland, Japan, the EU, and the Bank of International Settlements. XRP Crypto Wolf, I've got several things he provided this morning, so I'm going to get to the next one. MoneyGram is expanding, excuse me, MoneyGram is expanding its use of Ripple and XRP by enabling corporate and personal bank account transfers to be powered by RippleNet. They will accelerate progress for real-time global settlement. MoneyGram is launching XRP remittances in more corridors. And then this was from Michelle Vandenberg, sent me this. Charlie Vallejo, real 10-year bond yield minus inflation. Look at all of those negative bond yields right there, folks. I mean, it's getting pretty creepy out there if you ask me. And by the way, I'm about to show you something I found very interesting about a much bigger picture thing about having to do with XRP. But I wanted to get some of these little news items out of the way. We are proud to announce this is Amnes. I've never heard of Amnes, but this is yet another new company that Ripple is working with. We are proud to announce that Amnes Treasury will be the first payment service provider in Switzerland to offer blockchain-based payments to SME through RippleNet. Exciting times ahead. Okay. And then there was this. Yesterday, Ripple tweeted, I think it was yesterday. Yes. Yesterday, Ripple tweeted this out. Together with, this is Cross Int, and our newly added customers, SentB, HandPass, Wire Barley, and more, we are dramatically improving the cross-border payments experience in Korea. Now, this was with Ripple Insights. XRP Crypto will summarize it for me so that I don't have to go into it. Okay, Ripple partnered with SentB, HandPass, and I'm sorry, that's the part I just read. But in the article also, he found this transfer experience 50%, this Coin One official transfer experience 50% month-to-month growth rate in payment volume and was able to reduce fees by 90% since partnering with Ripple. Do you think anybody else is noticing that 90% savings? Maybe some of their competitors are hearing about this. All right. Now, I want to talk to you about something I don't think I've ever talked to you about. I was reading something and it reminded me to go over this. Some of you may not know what CLS is. CLS, this is about us. CLS helps clients navigate the changing FX market, reducing risk and creating efficiencies. Our extensive network and deep market intelligence enables CLS specialists to lead the development of standardized solutions to real market options. Our innovative, forward-looking products make the trading process faster, easier, safer, and more cost-effective, empowering our clients' success. I want you to watch this video on CLS. This CLS is a big deal, and it had some of the biggest players in the banking world are a part of this, and I'm going to show you how I think all of this is transitioning. But watch this first.
Markets don't stand still. The FX market is a dynamic global marketplace in which trillions of dollars of transactions are made and settled every day. And every day, the thousands of parties and players who trade within the FX sector are subject to significant risk, settlement risk. We at CLS mitigate that risk. Launched in 2002, we transformed the market with our innovative approach to settlement risk mitigation and multilateral netting. Our specialists have worked to reduce systemic risk ever since, creating operational efficiencies and significant cost savings for our clients. We do this through the operation of the largest multi-currency cash settlement service in the world, mitigating risk for the world's most important financial institutions, our members and their clients, funds, banks, and multinational corporations. On their behalf, using our unique payment versus payment system, we are settling payment instructions for currency trades in 18 currencies for counterparties across the globe, simultaneously in real time and with finality. Every day we handle around 1 million payment instructions and settle some $5 trillion of transactions. Our clients benefit from multilateral netting, which calculates the net funding required to settle payment instructions, meaning each member only needs to transfer the net amount of its combined payment obligations in each currency. This considerably reduces the cash required for each member to settle its payment instructions in a given day, freeing up to 96% of cash flow for other business growth opportunities, empowering our clients' success. Markets don't stand still. We don't either. CLS, Trusted Market Solutions.
Now, it's important that you understand, and the way I've read it, and I'll read you something in a minute. CLS uses SWIFT. CLS, it has some of the most powerful banks in the world involved in this. CLS is one of the things that I believe that Ripple, XRP, R3 is going to disrupt. Now look at their board of directors, and then I'm going to make a point. Just look at some of the names of the banks. These are the people that are on their board of directors. Goldman Sachs, Westpac Banking. Now, remember these names because I'm going to show you what I showed you yesterday, which is the people that started the history of R3. Goldman Sachs, Westpac Bank, HSBC, Morgan Stanley, State Street, Deutsche Bank, UBS, Citigroup, BNP Paribas, and then these are then Societe Generale, Royal Bank of Canada, Bank of New York Mellon, JP Morgan, Overseas Limited, and then it goes on. Goldman Sachs. These are the CLS Bank International, Westpac. Let's see what else we have. We've already gone over those names. I don't know if some of that's repetitive. Royal Bank of Canada, JP Morgan. Okay, so I think they may have had some repetition there. But anyway, the point is yesterday I was going over with R3 with you, the history of R3. Look at this. This is the R3 Bank Consortium that formed, and some of those same names that I just read to you: Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Royal Bank of Scotland, State Street, UBS, BNY Mellon. All these names are it's the same, folks. These guys saw what was going on at R3, and granted, they're all going to do their own. You're not going to get them all, but my point here is that R3 is ground zero for the new financial world. And these guys knew it. That's why they joined this consortium. But now I want to show you how this all really ties in. Watch this. Okay, this is called let me pull up a page so I can see which pages to take you to. This is called the Blockchain Research Institute. Okay, and this is a document that I found that was put out called Reinventing International Clearing and Settlement, How Distributed Ledger Technology Could Transform Our Global Payment System. I'm sure someone has shown this before, but I just found it today. I've never seen it before, so I wanted to go through some of what it says for you because I think it's very telling. First, before I go into it, I want to show you some of the members of the Blockchain Research Institute. You might recognize some: Accenture, which is an investor in Ripple. Let's see if we see any other names. Bank of Canada. There's Canada. I don't know if that is their bank or what. And then you've got, let's see, Cisco, Coca-Cola. DTCC is a member. ExxonMobil's a member. Deloitte's a member. Let's see if we've got any other interesting. I can't read that, but this is another bank right here. KPMG, LCX. Now that's interesting because that is the exchange that is in Liechtenstein that is a member of this. The NASDAQ is a member of this. You see what we're talking about, folks? PNC Bank, a Ripple partner, is a member of this. Standard Bank. Anyway, you kind of see the point. All right. Now, those are the members. Now let's go through this little document here. Page 15 is where we're going to start, and page 15 talks about CLS. We can get to page 15. Let's see. That's okay, a little bit more. All right, page 15 down here at the bottom. Launched in 2002, CLS is a system owned by the world's leading FX banks to address the differences in timing and settling the two halves of an FX transaction. More specifically, CLS is an international multi-currency clearing system designed to ensure that both sides of an FX contract are executed simultaneously with certainty, with the finality of payment in two different countries' clearing systems. The CLS system settles payment instructions of underlying FX transactions in 18 currencies through accounts with 18 countries, central banks, the technical coordination that many banks computers with each other in that many countries, in that many time zones, is not a trivial task. The CLS system uses SWIFT messages to offer the largest FX cash settlement system in the world. Each settlement member, typically a bank, holds a single multi-currency account with CLS. At the start and end of a normal settlement day, each settlement member and each central bank has a zero balance in its account. It is not a lender of last resort. Settlement members may submit payment instructions relating to their own FX transactions as well as the FX transactions of their third-party customers directly with CLS. CLS maintains accounts with each of the central banks whose currencies settle through CLS. CLS settlement members and the national RTGS system of many countries communicate via SWIFT messages. So these guys use SWIFT for this, okay? Now let's look at the very end of this. Right here. Although CLS's membership includes the world's largest financial players, for smaller players, the indirect routing of FX transactions between organizations results in days, if not weeks, of delays. Let's not forget that every private party in these transactions takes fees. To someone outside the banking industry, all these intermediary systems may seem insane. To those with knowledge about banking systems and their history, it is perfectly logical. For bankers, each leg of the meandering journey was designed to ensure greater trust and address specific risks. As we have noted, these steps take time and money. The consumer is forced to accept the delays and the costs of overhead as arbitrary as they seem. So remember, there's $5 trillion, I believe they said, a day going through this CLS system that is obviously using SWIFT and has problems with being expensive and taking too long, okay? I'm sorry. Okay, well, let's go on to page 22 and see what it says. On page 22, right here, Ripple achieves high DLT throughput by direct end-to-end distributed ledger between financial participants without the need for a central ledger. Ripple's architecture, the official father of the digital asset investor channel is calling right now, but I'm going to have to call him back. Ripple's architecture and throughput indicate that they understand that the fewer participants, the faster the throughput. Let's see, and then I'm going to go to, there are so many places in here, folks, where Ripple and XRP are talked about specifically. The writing's on the wall, folks. Now we go to page 27. 27. Ripple, extremely well funded through an initial coin offering, which Ripple did not do the coin offering, but Ripple has developed code for funds movement between two institutions reflected through synchronized ledgers at both ends. Through its ICO, it launched a cryptocurrency XRP. It aspires to transform the central banking-based hub and spoke payment models to a centralized, if not distributed model. Ripple is an open source chained ledger that supports multiple tokens and point-to-point synchronization to single ledger. These tokens can represent anything from currencies to frequent buyer points to commodities. Ripple is based upon a shared distributed ledger that could replace much of today's clearing and settlement system with a spider web line architecture directly connecting all points, as opposed to the hub and spoke model used for clearing and settling today. It uses a synchronized ledger, which uses a consensus process that allows for payments, exchanges, and remittance in a distributed process at far higher speeds. Ripple has announced that both American Express and Spanish bank Santander are positioned, if not today, using Ripple or transatlantic payments via its blockchain, RippleNet. A well-circulated myth is that DLT's performance problems relate mostly to its block size and the current speed of computers. This is not the case. There is a common misperception that if we double the speed of a computer, then we have its throughput time. For example, if our computer is running at 20% and waiting for I/O 80% of the time, doubling the speed of the computer will give us only a 10% increase in throughput, 20% divided by 2. Computers of all speeds, even quantum computers, wait for I/O at the same speed. What slows down consensus model DLT is the amount of time the computers are waiting for I/O that is the result of latency in the network as they communicate with each other. If we reduce the number of computers involved, then we eliminate much of the I/O problem. That is exactly what Ripple has done. By doing so, it's asserted incredible throughput its orders of magnitude faster than the speed of either the Bitcoin or the Ethereum blockchain. When we exchange relatively inactive currencies, Brazilian real or NZ dollars, we typically exchange them first through a more liquid currency like the US dollar. Ripple hopes that we will someday use its cryptocurrency XRP instead. Extremely bold in ambition, XRP could replace the US dollar as the de facto intermediary currency. Did you hear that? XRP could replace the US dollar as the de facto intermediary currency. And then they go through the DTCC, which we've talked about. But I am moving on to page 35, because page 35 gets even more interesting, folks. All right, here we go. In countries where there is no credible record of a responsible economic policy, the arbitrary but transparent process of value creation, as with bitcoins on a blockchain, may reduce mistrust, meaning we may someday see a proof-of-work cryptocurrency as a national currency, although it may forego that country's ability to use traditional techniques to manage its economy. It would allow that country to escape the arbitrary attacks on its currency by FX traders from behemoth money center banks. Now, the proof of work, as we know, doesn't work. So listen to where it goes now. Christine Lagarde, managing director of the International Monetary Fund, said, "Think of countries with weak institutions and unstable national currencies. Instead of adopting the currency of another country, such as the US dollar, some of those economies might see a growing use of virtual currencies. Call it Dollarization 2.0. The Bretton Woods Accord established the US dollar as the global currency, putting the US government in an extraordinary position of power, capable of denying access to the global system for example, Chinese banks and to do business with North Korea. We should consider the adoption of a cryptocurrency a la XRP or Bitcoin a serious possibility and disruptor to this world order." Remember that, a disruptor to this world order. Now, let's go on to page 39. This is the conclusions section, okay? Let me see if I can find the part where it talks about Ripple. Here we go. By having point-to-point replication, Ripple, with its distributed, not centralized architecture, has mitigated the speed issues associated with distributed consensus models. It is in production today for Nostro-Vostro accounts with the direct connection immediately indicating erroneous account numbers, as opposed to Swift's messaging model. Both Ripple's XRP and Stellar's Lumens XLM aspire to become world's de facto currency. Whether this is wishful thinking or an achievable goal has yet to be seen. By limiting the number of distributed players in its distributed ledger technology to 2, Ripple can produce throughput levels far in excess of its more distributed competitors. However, Stellar's market capitalization jumped from 194 million to 516 million, 265% on simply stating an aspiration with IBM. As you look here, it's pretty obvious the impact that these people see that Ripple is going to have. Now, I want to finish. If you remember, they said what they said in there. They mentioned that it could disrupt the world order. What have we said Brad Garlinghouse say many, many times? Well, don't worry, because I've found it for you. Listen to this.
Is there a possibility that Ripple could take over Swift one day?
Well, I think what we're doing and executing on a day-by-day basis is, in fact, taking over Swift. In that, we've now signed up, well over 100 banks. Some of the largest Swift-enabled banks in the world are now using Ripple's technology. Just last week, we saw a remittance company who's using Ripple's technology. They reduced the price per transaction to their consumers from $20 per transaction to $2 per transaction, and they saw an 800% increase in usage overnight. That's the type of dynamic that Swift isn't able to support that we're able to address right now, and that's something we saw just in the last couple of weeks. So we certainly want to see banks succeed in this new world order, and take it.
Did you hear that? New world order, folks. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button. And tell your friends about Dollarization 2.0 and the new world order. Thank you for listening.